Please join us every week for a new episode of Understanding the Human Condition with Dr. James Flowers. Dr. Flowers and his most admired mentors, respected colleagues, and VIP guests will share valuable insight into underlying health causes, conditions, and issues. These in-depth yet approachable episodes are a great resource for both private individuals and industry professionals. Our esteemed host, Dr. James Flowers, is one of the most recognized and respected names in the field of chronic pain, mental health, and substance use disorders, both nationally and internationally. Dr. Flowers is the founder of J. Flowers Health Institute, located in Houston, Texas. For more information about J. Flowers Health Institute and its concierge services, go to jflowershealth.com or dial 713-783-6655. And be sure to mention this podcast.
Welcome to Understanding the Human Condition with our host, Dr. James Flowers.
Hey, Robin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's good to see you this morning.
We have a very special guest.
I am so excited that Johnny Caraba is with us today. Thank you for doing this with us. And you are so busy. You have so many things going on in your life during this turbulent period as well, and you decided to come spend an hour or 30 minutes with us.
Well, it's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. I appreciate the invite, and you said I'm busy. All you're doing is interrupting a golf game.
There you go. All right, good. Good deal. Well,
You are going to be super authentic and out there, aren't you?
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I thought if I could I read a little bit about your bio, a little background? Yeah. I'm sure everybody knows you who's listening to the podcast, but for those who don't, Johnny was proudly born and raised in the East End of Houston, Texas.
Edo.
Johnny Caraba III
Yep.
was raised in his parents' family-owned grocery store, Carrabba's Friendly Grocery, and attended St. Thomas High School. In 1986, Johnny opened the original Carrabba's on Kirby Drive. The second location on South Foss Road opened its doors in 1988.
I remember.
In 1993, Outback Steakhouse created a joint venture partnership, consequently opening over 230 Carrabba's
Wow.
Italian Grill restaurants nationwide, 10 locations in Brazil, and future locations in Mexico. Johnny and his family continue to own and operate the two original Carrabba locations. In 2012, the family's new fast casual concept, Mia's Table, opened one block behind the original Carrabba's on Kirby. In 2014, Grace's, affectionately named after Johnny's grandmother, Grace Mandola, opened its doors, forging the fourth family-owned and operated restaurant for the Carrabba family. Mia's Table now has 3 additional locations and continues to grow throughout the greater Houston area, with 2 more sites scheduled to open in 2020. Johnny is a philanthropist at heart and gives back to the community through many venues and charities, especially those benefiting children. Johnny has 2 beloved children, Johnny IV, who proudly attends the University of Alabama, and
Roll
Mia
Tide.
at the Southern Methodist University. The family enjoys traveling, playing golf, and simply spending quality time together. Welcome.
Well,
I did not know your son was a student or is a student at University of Alabama.
yeah. He's right now. He's taking a little bit of a break. He went there for 2 years, and he's
Yeah.
he'll probably go back. But right now, he's wants to work in the restaurant business. So he's a fry cook for me.
Very nice.
And one of my Mia's concepts. So he's getting a real education now.
Absolutely, he is. That's right. Gosh, I think I started working in restaurants literally when I was 14 years old in the back of restaurants, and it's an amazing business to just kind of grow up in and learn. So I went from a dishwasher to a busboy to eventually a waiter, and waited tables all through college, mostly at some of your family's restaurants here in Houston.
Mm-hmm. James, I tell people all the time, I should call you Dr. Flowers.
No, James is great.
But I mention this to people all the time, is I think that every person should work in the restaurant business. And it doesn't make a difference if you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a engineer. I think the restaurant business teaches you a lot about life, and it teaches you a lot about people.
Yep.
So I think that's good training.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have
it
a
does.
quick, interesting story to tell him about. So when I was an undergraduate, I was actually my undergraduate degrees are in marketing and finance. And one semester, it was my end of my sophomore year, and my assignment was to write a business plan. And so I wrote a business plan on a restaurant concept.
Really?
And yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was going to be an oyster bar, poor boys, fried shrimp, and tap beer. And that's it, and a jukebox. And so I wrote this business plan, turned it into my professor, who was the dean of the School of Business. And he came to me after, gave me an A on it. And he said, this is a really good business plan.
Oh.
Don't ever tell me it's a really good business plan. You know what I did? I went and opened a damn restaurant.
Oh,
and
you did?
I did. And I decided.
Did you know this, Ken?
You're kidding me.
I am going to open a restaurant. And so I went. I didn't have my grandparents were paying for my college, but they weren't going to give me money to open a restaurant. And I took that business plan to 7 different little community banks around town. And they all just kind of were like, no. And I walked into this bank, and it was a community bank, and I walked in, and it was early one morning, right at 8 o'clock, and I walked up to the secretary and said, my name is James Flowers, and I need to visit the president of the bank. And he happened to walk behind me. What was I, 19, 20? and he walked up behind me, and he said, well, I happen to be the president of the bank, and shook my hand, and I said, I need 10 minutes of your time. Sat down with him. It was a $500,000 loan. And a day later, I had a $500,000 loan.
Wow.
They approved it, and I opened a little oyster bar, aphrodisiacs. I named it DG's Oyster Bar. And on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we had between an hour and 2-hour wait. And I worked. My mother was so mad at me because I worked, 15-hour days, practically go to school, come to work, go to school, come to work. And my mother was like, you can't do this. You have to finish school. And I did finish, but I did that. And then one day, here's my business savvy. Then one day, this man walked in at lunch, and he was wearing a suit and sunglasses, and he came up and he had a badge, and I was like, can I help you? And he said, hi, my name is John Doe, and I'm with the IRS. And I was like, what? Okay. I hadn't paid my sales tax, or with the state rep comptroller or something, and I hadn't paid. I haven't paid the state of Texas taxes. I was like, do I have to pay y'all? It was a great success. So the mayor happened to be sitting in the restaurant at the bar. She came every single day for lunch and had a crab salad every day. And she was sitting there, and she got up and she said, hi, my name is Judy McDonald, and I'm the mayor. And can you give him some time and leave us information, and we'll get back with you? And he left his card and said, I need to hear from you. And she left, and she said, are you going to be able to pay this? And I said, I can come up with it, I guess. She went and talked to 3 businessmen in town, and they came back and wrote a check and bought the restaurant from me. And I went back and finished school.
That's good.
So that's my restaurant.
That's awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I think it's a great concept. My Uncle Tony Mandola had Tony Mandola's Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
And you pretty much described it.
I grew up at Tony Mandola's Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
I love it.
I worked there for a while.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so wild. But I had the best time. But it is hard work. Yeah. Isn't it?
Only if you want to work 8 days a week.
8 days a week. That's right. Oh my gosh. You and I have something else in common other than my one little restaurant experience and my waiting table history is we both went to Sam Houston. What was your experience like there?
It was a 2-year stint. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun. I love Sam Houston.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal for us, getting away from our parents.
Oh, for sure.
And about 3 or 4 of my good buddies from St. Thomas High School where we went up there, and we got really good at everything but school.
Yeah.
And one of my experiences at Sam Houston was I worked for my Uncle Damien Mandola. He had a restaurant called Damien's right there on University Drive. And
Damien's.
But, I was peeling garlic one day, and I was looking out the kitchen window, and I saw some of my friends, and they all looked like they were having a good time.
Yeah.
And I just said, I don't think peeling garlic is in my future.
Yeah.
So I want to go have a good time. But guess what? Peeling garlic was in my future.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love Sam Houston.
Yeah. Sam Houston's a great school. I worked for your uncle, someone that's an icon in Houston and someone I loved very, very much. It'll make me cry here in a second. But Vincent Mandola. I loved that man, and he passed away this year. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Vincent.
Well, you say you're going to cry. I probably will start crying. Italian people, we have a tendency to be emotional. But my Uncle Vincent, I looked up to him. He was a Vietnam veteran. I would write him letters when he was in Vietnam. he always made an impression on me. He's a gentleman, very neat, impeccable with his word, and just all my life, he just made an impression on me. That's as simple as I can put it. But then when I worked with him, that's when I really started realizing how hard and dedicated he was. And he taught me. He taught me some things about the restaurant business, but he really taught me about ownership. And you know what? The best teachers are people that don't preach.
Right.
I'm a preacher, but they don't preach. You could just learn through the example he was setting.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate, James, to do the eulogy at his funeral. And my Aunt Mary asked me to do the eulogy, and it was, I'd have to say, the biggest honor of my life. You know, and I talked a lot about just he was neat, clean, hardworking, great, the best family man I've ever met. And that's what I admired about him the most. But I think what I admired about my Uncle Vincent the most was I must have had 300 text messages, emails, phone calls, or more. They just talked about how special he made everybody feel. And, I think that, the quote is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
That's right.
Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
And that's, again, legendary.
Yeah, legendary. I was working for him the night, I told you a little bit earlier, I was working for Vincent Mendola the night that Pan Am Flight 103 in Lockerbie, Scotland crashed. And if I'm not wrong, I think it was Christmas Eve. I think it was. And everyone in the restaurant, the TVs were on, and Vincent's and everyone was crying. And he came up next to me for some crazy reason, this waiter, and he put his arm around me and just started talking to me and about life and how quick it can disappear and how important it is. Yeah. And I will never, ever, ever forget that. So, genuine, very genuine. Yeah.
He was raised by genuine people.
Of course.
Well, speaking of that, your mother, she is the reason that I now have switched from the Kirby location to the Voss location, because she just has this knack of making everybody feel super special. And I know she doesn't know me from Adam, but every time I come there, she's like, "Oh, it's so great to see you again." I'm like, "Oh." She doesn't know me from Adam.
She's seen you in a magazine, I'm sure.
Whatever. But still, that's a gift that your family has. Yeah. One of many.
I gave a little talk one day to the Carrabba's Italian Grill people. I own the two originals, but the other ones, and I went to conference. I go to conference every year with them, and they always ask me to give a talk. But this sums up my mother. They didn't know who I was speaking about, but I said, there's a person that I know that would not know how to open up the front door, wouldn't know how to turn the point of sale system on, wouldn't know how to get the music turning, probably wouldn't even know how to make fettuccine Alfredo. And I went on through like the restaurant business, right? I said, but this person happens to be one of the best restaurateurs in the city of Houston, Texas. Because this person cares and makes people feel special.
Right.
And that would happen to be my mom. So I was a little bit more long-winded than that. But, in the restaurant business, you have to have good food, good service, and all that stuff. But basically, it's the hospitality business. I mean, I'll tell you that. But my mother, if I had 30 moms, I'd be a damn good businessman.
Yeah. Right.
And you had two great grandmothers, too. I mean, the best. Yeah. Talk about those.
I loved my two grandfathers. They taught me a lot about just overall being a man, but fighting back a little emotion. But my two grandmothers, I mean, my grandma Caraba was selfless. She just did everything for everybody. Made me, she had 7 grandchildren at the time. She has 9, but when I was growing up, it was but 9 grandchildren. But she made me feel like I was her only grandchild.
Oh,
and then my grandma Mandola. Yeah.
Well, that's
sorry about that, but
no.
But my grandma Mandola, I mean, there would never have been a Nino's, Vincent's, Damien's, Tony Mandola's, Carrabba's. There would, without her. She was the best cook I've ever met. Wow. I admired her because she was born, privileged in Louisiana. her father was a very successful business person, but had a bad fire at his business without without insurance back then.
Right.
So she lost it. Then she moved to Texas eventually, and then she married my grandfather, Tony Mandola. My grandpa, Tony, was a very successful businessman.
Sure.
He had a very bad car wreck where he was like in a coma for like 16 days, but he ended up losing it. So when you look at somebody, and my two grandmothers were raised in the Depression.
Yeah.
You know, we have COVID now, which COVID, I mean, is bad, but they went through some trouble.
Yeah.
But when you look at my grandma Mandola, who went from, I say riches to rags, maybe riches to rags, but she never, ever let us know the pain that she went through.
Right.
So that's why I admire my grandparents, is they endured. But and I'm glad you brought them up because, my parents taught me a lot. I think, my coaches at St. Thomas, even though I was a mediocre athlete, I mean, there's different people in your life that make the impact. But I'd have to say that my two grandmothers made the biggest impact on me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that in my family too. My grandmother made the single biggest impact. My grandfather was a surgeon, and he was an important role model for me. But my grandmother is really the one that was that single biggest impact on my life too. Yeah. All of what you're talking about right now is part of what we call on this show the human condition, understanding the human condition. And just the emotion that you're showing, talking about your grandparents and your family and Vincent, every bit of that is part of your human condition, you know, and your grandmother helped shape your human condition of where you are today. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
And you know, like I tell younger people now, you never know who's going to impact your life.
Right.
But, through your life, you look back, and you learn a little bit from everybody.
Right.
And, James, you learn how not to do some things from some people.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, you do.
Let's talk about your staff because they stay with you for a very long time. I mean, you've got some serious longevity there with your staff. What's the secret?
I mean, you reap what you sow. I'll give you a little story. I mean, but if you give people love, and love is not I love you, you're the best. That's a form of love, but love is like you would raise children, your own blood, but love comes in every different form. But when you're there for people, they'll be back with you, through thick and thin. With the two original Carrabbas, I have probably 240 employees. 110 of them have been with me 15 years or longer.
That's awesome.
That right?
And before we started airing this, Rob, and I showed y'all. I think I showed you a video of a lady that's been with me for 34 years since the beginning, and she was making a vinaigrette, and just the pure execution and love that she, and I sent that out to my company. So instead of me rambling, I'm going to tell you a story, and I hope you have time.
You bet.
I used to have a man that used to come sit at the bar, and it could be a long story, but I'm going to cut it to the chase. But I never really knew what he did. But he, everybody knows what I do because they come in my restaurant. They know I'm in the restaurant business. But I got to know the guy, but I thought he was just kind of like a bar fly. Somebody just came in the bar and just drank and maybe ate a little food, but whatever. And his name was Mr. Patterson, Sidney Patterson. He's always given me good advice. He taught me about organizational structure, segregation of duties.
Right.
And I knew the guy was smart, but again, I thought he just liked vodka. A lot of it.
Yeah.
And one day he said, "Johnny, come here, boy." And I go sit next to him, and he goes, "I want to talk to you about something." He said, "I want to talk to you about your employees." He said, "I graduated from Wake Forest, and I got recruited by Gulf Oil in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania."
Wow.
He said, "So I knew when I went to work at Gulf Oil, cut me off now if you have to.
No.
No, you're
when
fine.
I went to work
We'll
for
make
Gulf
time.
Oil, when I worked for Gulf Oil," he goes, "I knew I was going there to work, and I knew I was going to be there for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I was going to raise my family, build a house, and all this stuff." He goes, "But things have changed lately." He goes, "People always say that people aren't the same anymore. Employees aren't the same. They're not loyal anymore. They go one job to the next." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That might be true." He goes, "But people are people." He goes, "What's the problem is companies aren't loyal anymore because people once you start climbing that corporate ladder, you start making money, they want to hire somebody
That's right.
lower.
Yeah.
Yep.
He goes, if you are loyal to your people, they will be loyal back.
I agree.
And I think I already had it instilled in me, but I think he enforced it. But again, you reap what you sow. You put you give them a lot, and you'll get a lot back in return. So I think in my career, somebody said, Johnny, what are you the most proud of? My people.
Yeah.
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 You're a very authentic person. No, you don't go in the restaurant and I'm the owner of this restaurant and look who I am and you do this and you do this and you do this. People that have been with you for 30 years know exactly what to do, and that's how to treat the restaurant right, how to treat you right, show you appreciation, and you must show them just amazing appreciation.
Well, today, I was at my mother's location. And, we have huddle-ups every day.
Yep.
That's how we start our day. Where we talk about the specials.
Nice.
We might talk about a little wine. But we had 3 new employees there, and I let everybody know that they're part of our family now.
Yeah.
And, I said, yeah, they have to work, but you need to be there for them.
That's nice.
Don't, so it's the... I wanted them to feel welcomed. And I think that you have to be approachable. Like I'm a very... Sometimes I get kind of mad at myself 'cause I'm too approachable, and I have everybody coming up to me saying, "Hey, Johnny, can I borrow $5?"
Exactly.
Hey, Johnny, I'm having marital problems. I said, well, you want me to help you with marital problems? I'm the
Let me
wrong
introduce you
guy.
to Dr. Flowers.
Yeah, I can get you help.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
that
your
is
kids, I know how proud you are of your children.
Yeah, I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
I really am.
I mean, we talked about that a little bit earlier. They're
Yeah.
literally your heart walking around outside of your body, right?
It's,
Yeah.
they really are. You have a whole new appreciation for your parents when you have children.
You do.
I'm not the easiest, I'm a loving father. I just want the best for them.
Yeah.
And, naturally they could live a little bit, they could get a little spoiled. But, I'm always telling them, just main thing is, keep your feet on the ground and live by the golden rule.
Yeah.
You're not any better than anybody else. And so I think that's my biggest deal is for them to stay real.
Yeah. Authentic.
Authentic.
Yeah. Authenticity, yeah. I would be, I don't want to bring up something stressful, but I'm going to ask you about this. You ready for this? No.
Yeah, you ready for
This
this?
has been a tough year, right? In the restaurant and entertainment business, and your family is this huge Houston dynasty. I'm not really asking about you don't need to talk about your whole family, but you in particular, how did you handle the immense amount of stress that you must have been under this year when COVID hit?
Well, it's been a real tough year. Personally, it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
Not only did COVID hit, I went through like a little personal trauma, but then personal, and then then my dad had a stroke at the beginning of COVID. Then my dad's in the hospital. I visited him. I came home, and I'm gonna get to the point, James. And then I fed him at the hospital. Came home, fed my mother, and then I get in my driveway after I left my mother, and their house caught on fire.
Wow.
Then you have the COVID, where you for the first time, we talked about this earlier, but the first time in 34 years, I really felt like a threat that I was going to lose everything that we've worked for.
Yeah.
And you start kind of throwing yourself a pity party, But then I started kind of like thinking about my ancestors a lot. And I just got off the phone with Damien before I drove here. When driving here, I was talking to my Uncle Damien, and I said, man, I've been thinking about our ancestors. Like, man, I said, they really had it hard, but they persevered. And I think that to answer your question, a lot of this stuff is out of our control.
Yep.
But we do control some of it.
Yeah, we do.
And I think I just had I threw myself a little pity party in the car one day. And I said, hey, man, we're going to make it through this. You just got to stick to your game plan.
Right.
And you got to keep, and I believe in meditation. I like meditating. I'm not the best at it, but I don't care. And I think doing a little cardio helped me.
Yeah.
But I think work for me, I pulled away because of my personal, my dad and stuff. I pulled away, but then I said, I have to go to work.
Yeah.
Work is therapeutic for me.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm answering
workaholism. I think not alcoholism. Sorry about that.
That's a whole new
That was
broadcast.
Freudian. No. Workaholism. And you know what? I call it therapy.
I do too. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And, I can remember like in the old days, if I was having a hard day, I would just go in the kitchen and get with Loopy and Rita and people in my prep kitchen and just peel garlic with them. I lived in the kitchen, but just
so cool.
It's very it's therapeutic for me.
It is.
And I love what I do.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Did that, absolutely, you did. And I think it's amazing that Johnny Caraba is sitting here saying meditation.
Right?
It's so important. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to try it. You have to concentrate on it and build your skill set. Meditation, exercise, cooking, working, keeping active and doing those things.
Yeah. Cooking. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cooking. My grandma Mandola made a great chicken soup, which we have it at the restaurant.
Is that in here?
That's in there.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we need to talk about this book.
One day I called her up. I called her up and I said, "Mama, can you give me the recipe to chicken?" I go shopping, and I made chicken soup for the whole family.
Wow.
And I was going through like a little hard time. Not that I have hard times, but I was going through a hard time.
Everybody has hard times.
I was being. But I made it and delivered to all my uncles and aunts.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, I'm good.
That's
And you
awesome.
said this? Did you say this is Mama's recipe?
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great.
So let's
Robin,
talk
what
about
are you
your
holding?
book. Yeah, so this book, With Gratitude. So a friend of ours worked on the book with you, Doug.
Sure, Doug Williams.
Yeah, Doug Williams. He's the reason we're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love, and they sell this at all of your restaurants, correct? Yeah. This was actually a gift from one of my girlfriends. But also in the book, I noticed that I didn't realize, I guess, until last week that you part of the proceeds go to a charity.
Yeah, to the Rye School.
Yeah. And how did you get involved with that?
Well, I know the founders of the Rye School, but I have everything gets emotional with me, but the young lady that works for me named Lauren Allardyce, she's been with me for 15, 16, 17 years. She really helped me quarterback this book from my side.
Wow.
And her daughter went to the Rye School. And
How amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to put this together?
it took them.
It took them.
I'm a really great delegator.
Well, I'm going to get in trouble because Doug said, do not mention my name. Do not even bring me up. This is all about Johnny today.
No, but I would say it took a year.
Yeah.
From start to finish. It was a year of.
It is
good to know.
It is a beautiful book.
It is.
Great team.
Yeah.
Had a great team.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book.
My sister's coming this weekend, and we're going to try to make the cannoli. So is it difficult to make? She's married to an Italian, so this will really get her a lot of attention from her husband.
What I would do is we make the shell.
Can I call you if we have trouble?
Oh yeah, you go ahead. But I would cheat a little bit, and you call me, and I'll give you the shell, homemade shell, right? Once that would maybe give you a little bit of a problem, but it's very easy. It's in the cookbook, and it's easy if we can do it. But come by, and I'll give you the shells, and then you fill them, and then he'll love them.
Perfect. That'd be
awesome.
great.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, I want to do like a little rapid fire.
Yeah.
Get your rapid fire
I've got my
questions
rapid
out for
fire.
Johnny.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Scares
You
me.
ready?
All right.
Yeah.
You go.
Favorite pasta?
Rigatoni.
Favorite fast food indulgence?
Well, it used to be late night Jack in the Box tacos.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was under the
I remember
influence.
that.
You know what? I'm Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
There you go.
Marinara, Alfredo, or pesto?
Oh, marinara by far.
What do you like to do on the weekend?
I like to play golf.
That's right. I knew that answer.
Cannoli or tiramisu?
Cannoli. I'm Sicilian, okay? Robin.
What is one thing that Johnny Caraba cannot live without?
Golf.
I'd have a hard time without golf. I would say years ago it'd be pasta until I started watching my waistline.
Yeah.
I would have to say can't live without probably my 2 children.
Good answer. Yeah.
What was your first car?
It was a hand-me-down Oldsmobile Delta 88, and then I got my first Monte Carlo. I bought a Monte Carlo, yeah. So I'd say Monte Carlo was my first love in a car.
There you go. Yeah. Do you have any nicknames that people call you?
In high school, they
keep
called
it clean
me.
Here.
Yeah,
No.
In high school they called me Chi Chi, but then I have a good friend of mine named Luke McCon who called me Chopper because he loved my veal chop.
There you go. Perfect.
Chopper. Favorite vacation spot ever?
Some of my family won't be happy with me, but golf at Cypress Point in Pebble Beach, California.
There you go. That
Monterey,
is a beautiful place. Man.
Yeah.
What's one thing on your bucket list that you have not done yet?
Haven't played Augusta National.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet somebody out there listening is going to take this man to Augusta National.
Probably. Yeah.
I know a few people.
That sounded very simple-minded of me. You know, I kept on saying golf, you know, or pasta.
I love
but
it. You're at a great point in your life. You can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, what's your advice to listeners out there who may be in the year of 2020 going through COVID that are stressed and have anxiety and just have had some personal challenges? You've had a ton of personal challenges this year. What do you want to leave people with, the last thought on
I just
getting through that?
I'd say surround yourself with people that you want to be around. You know, sometimes hanging around the wrong people, you know. I think there's way too much drama in our lives nowadays. People make drama.
Yep.
We're all going to make it.
Yep.
You know, some way or the other, we're strong. And we're going to make it, so stay positive. I said this earlier, but think about your ancestors and what they went through,
Right.
either through the Great Depression or migrating to this country. You know, we've had a very privileged, blessed, you know, I'm 61. You know, this is the first big challenge of my life. You know, I think you just have to suck it up. And then I also said earlier, though, James, you know, I think you have to be selfish a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
You do.
I think you have to spend some time with yourself.
You do.
And, you know,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
No.
That's right.
I think
I
being
get-
selfish is selfless, something like that.
Selfish is selfless. Yes, absolutely.
I get up an extra hour every morning, and I'm not a morning person. I get up at 5:30 just so that I can have 1 hour to myself, still with a cup of coffee, a magazine, a book, a cookbook, whatever it is, before so that I'm just Robin for an hour.
Right.
I'm not somebody's employee. I'm not a sister, a friend, a mother, all those things. And it's made a huge difference in my world.
In my car, in my visor, I have things, but one thing that I have notes written, you know, like things I wanted, and it says, spend time with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
It's
think that'd
difficult
be
for
my
some
advice.
people to be still.
Spend time with yourself. Be still. Yeah.
Be still.
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I am sorry that we interrupted your golf game today. Thank you so much for being here.
James,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
It's such a
Robin,
pleasure.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Yeah.